The ending of Season 3. Episode 11 of The Summer I Turned Pretty wasn't just about who Belly chose, it was about everything she had to let go of, and everything she had to grow into. It wasn't just romance. It was heartbreak, nostalgia, and the moment where childhood truly ended. Let's break it down. Asterisk, the story leading up to Episode 11 is heavy with emotions. And everything we see in the finale is the result of choices that started much earlier in the season. Belly has spent the entire summer caught between the weight of her past and the hope of her future. On one side is Conrad, her first love, the boy who made summers magical, but also the boy who broke her heart more than once. On the other side is Jeremiah, the steady presence, the one who offers comfort when the world feels too heavy. This love triangle has always been the beating heart of the series, and Episode 11 is where it finally collides. Before the ending, we watch tensions rise in quiet but powerful ways. The summer house becomes more than just a vacation home. It's a symbol of memory. It's of love, of family, and of all the pieces of childhood that Belly and the boys have been clinging to. Every scene inside that house feels charged because everyone knows it may be the last time they share it in the same way. The laughter, the arguments, the glances across the room, they all carry the weight of goodbye. As the episode builds, Belly's perspective is clear. She cannot live in the past anymore. The summers that once defined her are now pulling her apart. She is standing at a crossroads where staying still means losing herself, but moving forward means breaking hearts. This is the tension that drives the first half of the finale. Every conversation she has with Conrad and Jeremiah feels like it has to layers the words being spoken, and the unsaid pain underneath them. Conrad, as always, keeps his emotions hidden behind walls. He's the character who loves the most, but shows it the least. And in this episode, that trait is more heartbreaking than ever. We see moments where he looks at Belly and you can feel the years of history in his silence. Jeremiah, on the other hand, wears his heart on his sleeve. He pushes for clarity, for honesty, for a chance to finally claim the future he wants with Belly. The contrast between the brothers has never been sharper, and Belly is forced to see not just who they are, but what kind of life each of them represents. And yet, the episode is not only about romance. Family remains at its core. The loss of Susanna still echoes in every room, reminding everyone that this summer is about more than love. It's about grief, memory, and letting go. The conversations about the house are really conversations about holding on to the past versus facing change. Belly and the boys are learning that growing up often means saying goodbye, not because you want to, but because you have to. By the time we reach the final stretch of the episode, the atmosphere has shifted. What started as another summer at Cousins has transformed into the last chapter of a story they've been writing since childhood. Every choice feels permanent. Every word feels like it could be the last. And that's the perfect setup for the ending, where everything comes crashing down, not in explosions or dramatic reveals, but in quiet, emotional truths. This recap section sets the stage for the ending explanation. It shows us how Episode 11 is not just an ending, but the emotional peak of everything that's been building since Season 1. Belly is no longer just a girl torn between two boys. She is a young woman forced to define her own future. And that makes her choice, and the heartbreak surrounding it, all the more powerful. Asterisk, the ending of Season 3. Episode 11 doesn't explode with action or sudden surprises. Instead, it unravels slowly, like the last pages of a diary you don't want to close. It's quiet, it's heavy, and it's deeply personal. That's what makes it hit so hard. It feels like the end of something real. The final scenes are centered around Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah. By this point, the triangle is no longer playful or uncertain. It's raw, it's painful, and it demands resolution. The most striking thing about the ending is how little it relies on big gestures. Instead, it's built on small details. The way someone looks away, the hesitation in a voice, the pauses between words. These are the moments that carry the emotional weight. Belly finally confronts the reality that she cannot keep running in circles. The days of chasing summer dreams are gone, and she knows that dragging things out will only hurt more. This is where she takes a step into maturity. choosing honesty over comfort, clarity over confusion. When she speaks to Conrad, the scene is drenched in history. You can feel years of unspoken emotions pushing against her decision. Conrad, in his typical way, struggles to open up. He tries, in his quiet, guarded manner, to let her know that he still cares, maybe more than ever. But it's too late. Timing has always been their enemy, and in this moment, Belly realizes love without timing can't survive. With Jeremiah, the atmosphere shifts. There's a sense of lightness, even in the pain. He offers her something Conrad never could: consistency, openness, the possibility of a love that isn't always at war with itself. The ending doesn't present this as the easy choice, but as the necessary one. Belly isn't simply picking Jeremiah over Conrad. She's choosing the version of herself that wants to move forward instead of being trapped in the shadows of what could have been. The house plays a subtle but powerful role in these final scenes. Every shot of its walls and windows feels symbolic. It's not just a setting. It's a character, representing the summers they've shared and the innocence they're leaving behind. The decision about the house mirrors Belly's personal choice: hold on to the past or let it go. And just like with her relationships, letting go is painful but inevitable. What makes the ending unforgettable is its restraint. Instead of dramatic confessions or fireworks, we get moments of silence, moments where the absence of words speaks louder than anything said. When Belly walks away from Conrad, it isn't just about leaving him. It's about closing the chapter of her first love. It's the boy who will always define a piece of her heart but can't define her future. When she chooses Jeremiah, it's not presented as a fairy tale resolution, but as a step into the unknown, into something real, messy, but hopeful. Another subtle layer of the ending is how it honors Susanna's presence. Though she's gone, her influence lingers. Her love for her sons, her bond with Belly, her memories in that house, all of it hangs over the finale. It's as though the characters are not only saying goodbye to each other, but also to the version of life they had when she was still alive. That grief underpins every smile, every tear, every choice. By the very last moments, we see Belly not as the unsure girl from season 1, but as someone transformed by loss, love, and growth. She doesn't have all the answers, and the show makes it clear that choosing Jeremiah doesn't erase the pain with Conrad. But that's the point. The ending doesn't offer a perfect solution, it offers an honest one. Life doesn't tie up neatly, and neither does this story. What lingers after the screen fades is not just who did Belly choose, but what does that choice mean? It means she's finally stepping out of the endless summers of childhood and into the uncertainty of adulthood. It means that sometimes choosing the future requires letting go of the past, and it means that even in heartbreak, there is hope. That's why episode 11's ending is so impactful. It doesn't just close a love triangle. It closes a chapter of life we all know. To Wealth, a chapter where we realize that growing up means leaving behind the people, places, and summers that once felt like forever. Asterisk the ending of the summer, I Turned Pretty Season 3. Episode 11 isn't only about Belly's choice between Conrad and Jeremiah. On the surface, yes, it's a love triangle finally reaching resolution. But beneath the surface, the episode is working with bigger themes: the ache of growing up, the bittersweetness of letting go, and the way we carry memory as both a comfort and a burden. One of the most powerful symbols in the finale is the summer house. All season long, it has been treated like more than a building, it's a container of memory. Every laugh, every fight, every whispered confession between Belly and the boys is soaked into its walls. That's why the debate about selling the house feels so raw. It's not just about property. It's about whether the past can or should be preserved. By the end, the house becomes a metaphor for Belly herself. She can either cling to the comfort of what's familiar, or she can step out into the unknown. Her decision mirrors the fate of the house, no matter how much love has lived within it. Time demands change. The theme of timing also runs like an invisible thread through the finale. Conrad and Belly's relationship is built on timing that never quite lines up. They love each other deeply, but always at the wrong moment. The ending makes this clear. Love without timing is like a song played out of sync. It still has beauty, but it never reaches harmony. Jeremiah, in contrast, represents alignment. His love may not have the same poetic weight as Conrad's, but it meets Belly in the present, instead of dragging her into the past. The symbolism here is sharp. Conrad is the echo of summers gone. Jeremiah is the possibility of a future summer still to come. Another recurring theme is grief woven into love. Susanna's absence hovers over every choice the characters make. She was the glue that bound everyone together, and now that she's gone, every relationship is tested. Belly's decision can be read as an answer to grief itself. With Conrad, her love feels tied to memories of Susanna and the life they all shared in the house. With Jeremiah, she feels the possibility of a love that isn't shadowed by loss. The finale suggests that true healing isn't found by holding on tighter, but by finding a way to live beyond the loss. We also see the theme of identity through relationships. For seasons, Belly has defined herself by the boys she loved. Episode 11 shifts this focus. Her choice at the end is less about picking a boy and more about defining who she wants to be. The symbolism here is quiet but clear. The moment she makes her decision, she is no longer the girl waiting for someone else to choose her. She becomes the one who chooses. This reversal is subtle, but it changes the tone of the finale from romantic drama into something more profound, a story of self-ownership. The use of silence and pauses in the ending also carries symbolic weight. Silence here doesn't just mean absence of sound, it represents all the things unsaid. The emotions that can't be explained, the weight of history pressing down on the present. When Belly looks at Conrad without speaking, it's not emptiness, it's acknowledgement. It's an entire novel of feelings compressed into one unfinished sentence. The symbolism is that not every story needs words to be told, and not every love needs to be kept to be real. Even the ocean, often shown in passing shots, plays its part. The waves crashing along the shore reflect the idea of cycles: love beginning, love ending, and beginning again. Summer, like the tide, always comes and goes. The finale ties into this natural rhythm. Belly's childhood summer has ended, but another season, a different kind of summer, is waiting beyond the horizon. What makes these symbols unique is how universal they feel. You don't need to have lived in Cousins Beach to understand the pain of walking through a place for the last time, the bittersweet pull of choosing growth over comfort. The show cleverly uses the language of setting, silence, and memory to make Belly's story feel like ours. In the end, the symbolism points to one truth. The finale isn't about winning or losing a love triangle, it's about transformation. Belly's choice, the fate of the house, the silence between characters, the ever-present ocean, they all echoed the same message. Childhood doesn't last forever. First love doesn't always last forever. But what remains are the lessons, the memories, and the courage to move forward. Belly's arc has always been about stepping out of the world of summers, first loves, and the innocence of girlhood, into the messy reality of adulthood. At the beginning of the story, she was the one being chosen, waiting for Conrad to notice her, or for Jeremiah to claim her. In the finale, the roles reverse. She is the one who chooses. That's the defining moment of her growth, the recognition that her happiness is not about which boy loves her more, but about who she wants to be. Her decision at the end is less about romance and more about maturity. She looks at Conrad and sees the love of her past, but also the endless waiting, the heartbreak, the silence that kept her stuck. She looks at Jeremiah and sees imperfection, yes, but also openness, steadiness, and the promise of moving forward. By choosing Jeremiah, Belly isn't choosing the easier love. She's choosing herself. It's the self who refuses to stay trapped in a cycle of heartbreak. This marks the completion of her arc. She is no longer a girl pulled in two directions. She is a young woman carving her own. Conrad, the boy who couldn't speak. Conrad's arc has always been tragedy disguised as restraint. He's the boy who loves deeply, but guards his feelings behind walls so high, no one can climb them, not even Belly. In episode 11, that flaw reaches its breaking point. When the time comes to fight for Belly, he falters. He hesitates. He hides behind his quietness. And in doing so, he loses the one thing he's always wanted. But Conrad's ending is not just about losing Belly. It's about growth through loss. For the first time, he has to sit with the reality that love cannot survive if it's never spoken, never acted on. His silence is both his shield and his downfall. Symbolically, his arc closes with him standing alone, still Conrad. Still complicated, still carrying love, but forced to reckon with the cost of never letting his heart be fully known. That bittersweet note completes his journey for now. He is the boy who will always define Belly's summers, but not her future. Jeremiah. The heart that stayed Jeremiah's arc is about persistence. For years, he has been in Conrad's shadow, overlooked, dismissed, or treated as the safer option. But in episode 11, his consistency finally becomes his strength. He doesn't hide his feelings. He doesn't wait for the right moment. He shows up. Again and again, he's there for Belly. Even when it hurts, the finale validates his approach to love. Not perfect, not poetic, but steady. When Belly chooses him, it's not framed as a victory over Conrad, but as recognition of who he is, the boy who stayed when everything else fell apart. His arc is about finally stepping out of the shadow, not just in Belly's eyes, but in his own. Jeremiah grows into a character defined not by rivalry, but by resilience. The house as a character even, though it's not a person. The house deserves mention here because its arc mirrors that of the characters. At the start, it's a monument to memory, a place where everything felt eternal. By the end, it becomes a reminder that nothing is permanent. Just as Belly has to choose between past and future, so too does the house. Its fate is tied to the character's growth. If they cling to it, they stay trapped. By letting go, they step into adulthood. The house completes its role in the story not by remaining unchanged, but by teaching them the meaning of change. The group as a whole by the finale. The group that once felt unbreakable is scattered. Belly, Conrad, Jeremiah, and the Fisher family are no longer united by summers at cousins. And that's the point. The show closes this chapter by making it clear that life doesn't freeze in nostalgic moves. Each character's arc ends with separation, but also with the possibility of reconnection in new forms. When you look at these arcs side by side, the ending becomes clearer. It's not about declaring winners and losers. It's about how each person learns something essential about themselves. Belly learns to choose. Conrad learns the cost of silence. Jeremiah learns the value of persistence. The house teaches them all that even the most sacred places can't last. It's forever, and that's why episode 11 feels like a true ending. Not because it ties everything up neatly, but because it allows each character to grow in ways that make sense, even if it hurts. It's not the ending we might have expected, but it's the one the story demanded.